starting to record and ready to go. So again, good evening, you all. Welcome back. This is Marquise Holyfield hosting the first Advanced Leaders Go to Eagle Leaders workshop, which is how to build your credit. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. So I just want to do an overview, introduction. So I'm going to have everybody go around and just quickly introduce themselves. Then we're going to just go over like some of the basics. What is credit? The advantages and disadvantages to having credit, how to build good credit, and things you should know about credit. So pieces from all of looking at how to read your credit report, how to dispute, how to just making sure that you're keeping yourself where you need to be, all the different laws and rights that you have when it comes to your credit and so forth. So if you guys would start, I will ask Jessica, if you would go first, just introduce yourself to everybody. You can just say your first and last name and what year you are, and then we'll have the next person go and introduce themselves real quick because we have a very small group.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Mancia. I graduate next year with my psychology degree.
Okay. Gleanie, you want to go next?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Glennie King. I am, going into, this is the third year of the doctoral program. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm in a 4-year program, but I want to finish early. So hopefully if I can get the dissertation done, because I'll be done with classes in June of next year, 2021.
Perfect.
Wish me luck.
We wishing you luck. Lakeisha?
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lakeisha House, and this is, I guess I could say, my last year. I'm getting my master's next year and June, and teaching. I'll be teaching SPED.
Okay. Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, Maribel. Okay, Jenny, you want to go next?
Well, my name is Jenny Flores. I'll be graduating next year in the winter with my bachelor's in business administration. So I'm very excited to learn more about credit scores and stuff.
Perfect. And I think we have Victoria next. Victoria, you just want to introduce yourself? Okay. Maribel, you want to go?
I can go. Hello. Good evening. My name is Mirabal. I am a grad student in the for the Human Resource Management and Development program. I'm very excited, and I hope to learn more about what is credit. I think that it's very important to really understand.
Okay, perfect. And Victoria, she goes by Tori. She put all her information in the chat. Okay, and of course, I wanted to let you guys know Keith is in here too. He's just kind of watching. So,
hello everybody. Sure. Hello everybody.
Cool. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith.
Okay, so our first question. So, what do you know about credit? So let's talk about this. Let's have our conversation. So, what is credit? What are the advantages and disadvantages of having credit? Why is this important? Why do we focus too much time on this? Come on, y'all, throw it out.
Credit is everything.
Okay.
For you to get low, like if you want to get a mortgage, it's important to have like good credit. The better your credit, the better prefer you are to have like a lower interest rate, lower payments. For a car note, I know it's important.
Cool. All right, anybody got something else?
I think it's just a way for a company to see if they could trust you with their money, and if you want to like buy something, take out a loan, like Maribel said.
Okay. Thanks, Jenny. One of the things I always want to remind you guys that also, if you are getting your degree that has to do with working with anybody else's money, corporate money, finances, foundations and stuff, they do credit checks. So they do a background check, but they also do a credit check because they want to see if you handle your money well, then you'll handle their money well. So that's key. Thanks, Jenny. Anybody else?
I'm not, well, for me, with my my son, he graduated in finance. And so now he's a junior financial analyst. So he kind of keeps us abreast of things with credit. So and I know that it's good to have good credit. Like you said, your credit is checked. When you're dealing with anybody's money, they do a credit check on you. And so it's good to like keep a good record. And someone mentioned trust. Maybe they can trust you to be able to pay your bills when they give you a loan or something like that. But especially with house payments and car payments. But I have been hearing some information about how it's not equitable for Black people. When I heard that, I was, well, I wasn't really shocked because of, all of the injustices that are against Black people right now. But it kind of shocked me how much it was. And this was at one of the meetings with the alderman, and it was intense. So
yeah, that's why later we're going to talk about your rights, so you know what you're supposed to be getting and the whole 9 yards. So this is the other piece. So I know most of you all probably either have some type of credit history or working on your credit history and just kind of building so forth. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we put this here, because we want people to know, like, also to know your rights. So we'll talk about that a little bit later too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So you know how I am. You know me, I'm big on my definitions. So of course, so credit is the trust which allows one party to provide money or resources to another party, wherein the second party does not reimburse the first party immediately, but promises either to repay or return those resources at a later date. So we kind of already defined that a little bit. So as you see here, we talk about some of the advantages. So you're able to buy needed items right now. You don't have to carry cash, creates a record of purchases, more convenient than writing checks, consolidates bills into one payment. But some of the disadvantages is that you will pay interest, sometimes higher at a higher cost. It may require additional fees. Financial difficulties may arise if one loses track of how much they have spent each month, and then sometimes it does increases you to buy on impulse instead of going in your means. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick activity. I have a video for us. Give me 1 second. And so in this video, I want you all to listen closely because we're gonna have some debriefing questions. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Money Smart Tips every college student should know. Hi there. Welcome to the third of our 4 Money Smart Tips every college student should know. In this video, we'll talk about building credit. Money Smart students continue on their path to financial success by learning how to develop a good credit score. Good good credit is important. It impacts all kinds of things, such as your ability to borrow money and do so at a lower rate, apartments you can rent, or even your job. Up to 50% of employers nationwide check credit when hiring. You can build your credit by using a credit card, paying on your student loans, or paying some utility bills or memberships. However, things that don't build your credit include debit card activity, rent, and the majority of utility bills. Your credit score is made up of 5 parts: your payment history, amounts owed, length of credit history, new credit, and types of credit. The combination of these 5 areas gives you your credit score. The most common credit score is the FICO score, which ranges from 300 to 850. Your credit score is used as a way for banks or businesses to figure out if you are likely to pay them back or not. Think about it. A bank isn't going to lend you money if you rack up high balances and avoid monthly payments. To keep your score moving in the right direction, follow these tips. If you are new to managing credit, do not open multiple accounts. Get experience handling one card responsibly first. If you have missed any payments, get current and stay current. Try to keep balances at 20% of your credit limit or lower. Pay off debt rather than move it around between cards, even low-interest cards. And remember, closing accounts could possibly do more harm than good. Checking your credit reports annually is an important part of developing good credit. Remember, it is okay to request and check your own credit report, and doing so does not hurt you. Visit annualcreditreport.com for one copy of your credit report from each of the 3 credit bureaus. You should be checking to ensure your payment history has been reported correctly. You should also be checking for signs of identity theft, such as an open account that you did not authorize. That wraps up the 3rd of the 4 Money Smart tips every college student should know. Your credit impacts many aspects of your life, so it's important to know how to make your score great. Check out our other tips.
Okay. All right. So, a few questions for us. So, what are some of the things that you heard about credit? What are some new facts that you learned from the video? And when do you think someone should develop credit?
Well, some of the things that I've heard about credit from the video kind of tie in with the second. They're facts that I already knew. It can affect your job. You need great credit to buy a house. You need, your credit. You need to establish a good credit line if you want to get loans at a lower interest rate. Things like that. Those are the things that I kind of already knew. And when do you think someone should develop credit? I'm at a loss for that one because when I was trying to establish credit, the words I heard were, "You don't have any credit." So I hated that, and I felt like, the minute I had a bill in my name, I should have been establishing credit.
Okay.
That's my thought.
I like that. Thanks, Keisha. All right. Anybody else?
Some of the things I heard was like the way that your credit score is built is by like 5 different things. How many accounts you have, the length. I forgot everything else by the top of my head. And then the new facts is that even if you close a credit card, it could also impact you like negatively. And I think that's kind of shocking. And the last one, you should develop credit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. It just said my internet was unstable. So someone should develop credit as soon as they turn 18, and then there's like a lot of credit cards that are kind of friendly for teenagers, I guess.
Yes. That is true. So it's funny that you brought that up. So yeah, most people will tell you to, back in the day, you know, those of us are predating some of the rules where creditors can't go on college campuses and solicit for you to have credit cards. But when I went to college, that was far from the truth. They gave you a t-shirt and they signed you up for every credit card you can get. So it is true that, you know, once you turn 18, you should probably start off slowly building credit. And we'll talk about some of those pieces of how you slowly start to do those things for people who didn't have credit or who don't have credit, to kind of do some of those things to kind of start off right, and what helps you to be able to do some of those things. And then when you talked about some of the new facts of closing your credit, yeah, crazy as it seems, but yeah, if you have a certain amount of credit limit and you close it, what that looks like is not that, oh, I don't need it anymore, but it reduces the amount of credit that you have. So the more number that you have, and you can maintain either zero balances or low balances on your credit, is beneficial for you, because it shows over time how trustworthy you are, which you would think closing the account because you don't need it would be the opposite.
Oh.
Anybody else?
I agree with what they were saying. It's funny you asked that question. My son just turned 18, and that was his first question. And he's like, Mom, you always talk about, you know, it's important how I have to be responsible with credit, and it's important to have good credit. He's like, but when do I start building my credit? And I was like, okay, he's listening. But yeah, I definitely agree. I'm like, well, now that you're 18, this is when you should start. And I pretty much have heard the same thing. Like, you start, especially to start off to build good credit, you start small, like the video said, with maybe like, you know, one credit card. Because I think a lot of times people just start opening a lot without knowing how to manage the credit cards. But yeah, that was something that reiterated from the video.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. Okay. So next, I'll talk all about building credit. So we're going to talk about the 5 C's. So this is so those of you who are trying to figure out, I think it was Lakeisha was saying, when she was trying to get credit, people would give her credit. So she's trying to figure out, like, why wasn't they giving her credit? Well, because all of banks and loan agencies and so forth, credit card companies, they look at the 5 C's to see if you're worthy enough to give credit to. So the first thing they want to look at is capital. So what if you don't repay the debt? So what can they get? So do you have any valuable assets, such as real estate, savings, or investments that can be used to repay credit card debt if income is unavailable? So they want to look at, like, what property do you own that could be secured by a loan? Do you have a savings account where they can pull that money? Do you have an investment that they can use as collateral? Then the next C is capacity. Can you repay back the debt? So they want to know, have you been working regularly in an occupation that's likely to provide you enough income to be able to support your credit card use? Do you have a steady job? What is your salary? How many other loan payments do you have? What are your recurring living expenses? What's your current debts? How many dependents do you have? Because all these things come into factor if you can pay the loan back or not, or pay the credit card amount back or not. Then the next C is collateral. So do you have assets that can be leveraged against the debt? So they want to make sure. So what assets do you have, such as a car or property that you can utilize? And then the last C is the conditions. So are there conditions that may affect your ability to repay? Have you been working regularly in an occupation that's likely to provide you enough income? Is there a current economic condition, like a recession, or that they can have a consideration about? What standard interest rates is in the economy, the current economy? So all of these things make a play. So right now, those people, if anybody heard the pieces about like, this is a phenomenal time to buy a house because interest rates are so low, but all these factors are like twice as strengthened now, and lenders are looking at these at a very close rate because we're in a recession, because there's so high of job loss. They want to make sure that individuals meet all these requirements and then some to be able to get a loan for any property at this moment. Questions about the 5 C's? Okay. Then the next thing we just want to talk about, you're responsible. So we just want to make sure that you're only borrowing what you can repay. Read and understand the credit card contract or any contract. That is going to be key for you all. So we'll talk about that when we can start getting into rights. But you want to read even that little fine print, because they may tell you you may start off at a 5% interest rate, but then after 6 months, your interest rate goes up to 25%. So they may tell you you have 18 months free with no interest, but then after that, your interest rate goes up for an extra amount of fee. Or they may say currently you don't have an annual fee, but after this, after having it for a year, you have an annual fee of $40. So it's key and important to make sure, and then you want to be able to read to see how often they can change the terms on your credit cards or any credit contracts they do for you. Is it a fixed rate? Is it adjustable rate? All those things are key and important when you're getting to purchase something, whether it's a home, a car, or getting credit cards, because in fact, you want to make sure that there's no catch. And then of course, you want to notify creditors if you can't meet your payments. It's always key and important for you to call them first before they're calling you. They look at it more responsibly. Sometimes they may not even put it on your credit, that your credit report, that you're late. So if you notify them ahead of time and say, hey, I'm having some financial troubles. Sometimes on folks' mortgages, they'll add it to the end of the mortgage. Sometimes for credit card payments, they'll say, well, what can you pay? So they'll work with you, but of course you have to be the initiator of that. And of course, you always want to report lost or stolen credit cards promptly, because we know about identity theft is very strong and heavily going on right now. And because of that, we want to make sure that you are taken care of and making sure that you don't have to pay for something that someone else is doing. Because if you wait a long period of time for not to report your credit cards and there's transactions on there, you may not be able to get them to refund you back that money. You may have to actually pay for that. So it's key and important to read that fine print about that and see those things too. And of course, we all know, never give your credit card information over the phone unless you've initiated the call or you're certain of the caller's identity, because of course, like we talked about before, identity theft, there's a lot of scams out there. So that's one of the things that I never do. So I never get my credit card information over the phone unless I'm the one who's initiating the call. No, you can't call me up and ask me, oh, well, can I get your credit card? Nope, sorry, that's not going to work. Just making sure that we're protecting ourselves in the process. And then the next thing I said a couple pieces for terminology. So some of these things might not be new to you all, but just want to make sure that you fully understand what they are. So when we go APR is annual percentage rate, so the interest rate you will pay if you carry over a balance. Also, we talk about grace periods, the number of days you have to pay your bill before the finance charges apply. Those are key and important because you want to make sure, especially when you have mortgages, it'll tell you that your mortgage is due on the 1st, but it'll tell you that you have a 14-day grace period before you get any late fees or anything like that, or anything else, the finance charges, extra finance charges they may add on to it. So that's something key and important to remember. And then of course we talk about fees. These charges include annual fees. Those of you who get cash advances or you balance transfers, all those things can incur fees and you didn't realize it. Late payments, returning items, and more. Some of the department store credit cards, returning items and stuff could charge a fee. You just want to be just mindful and read the fine print so that you know. And then last piece, we talk about balance transfer, transferring one balance from one card to a second card. So any questions about some of the terminology? Okay. Then the next, we just want to talk about the different types and sources of credit. So there's single payment credit. Items and services are paid for in a single payment with a given time period after the purchase, usually utility bills, medical services, some type of retail businesses. Installment credit, merchandise and services that are paid for in 2 or more regularly scheduled payments as a set of amount. Interest is included. Some retail businesses such as cars and appliances dealers and stuff like that. Money can also be loaned for a special purpose with a consumer agreement to repay the debt in 2 or more regular scheduled payments. So commercial banks, we've all had like credit unions, like savings and loans, personal loans, finance companies, all those type of things. Just some different types and sources of credit there. And then of course, the last one is the revolving credit. Many items can be bought using this plan as long as the total amount does not exceed the user's assigned dollar amount. Repayment is made at regular times and intervals at any amount or above the minimum requirement. Interest is charged on the remaining balance. So some retail stores do this, and then some also credit card companies as well. So like this is your MasterCard, your Visa, the whole 9 yards. Any questions about some of these types and sources of credit? Okay, so getting to the nitty gritty. So Lakeisha talked about she had a hard time when she was trying to build credit. So like, how do you build credit history? What are you looking at? So first thing you want to do is establish a steady work history, so work record. They want to make sure that you've been on your job for at least a year or more. Paying all your bills promptly. So it's key and important to make sure you pay every last bill on time. Opening a checking account. So Lakeisha, and then I believe it was Maribel who was talking about her son and building credit. So first thing you want to do is opening a checking account. That's the first piece of starting to build that credit, seeing that they have a checking account, they don't bounce any checks, having a savings account, making regular deposits. Those are slow processes as to how to start to build that credit, because it gives you a credit history with a financial industry that they will trust. Then the next piece is you want to start small. Apply for a local store credit card and make regular payments monthly. So you want to have that card for at least a year to be able to do that. So they want most financiers are looking at 6 months to a year's time that you regularly made payments. So they want to see, have you made 12 consecutive payments on time when you got that first credit card. Apply for a small loan using your savings account as a collateral. So building up some savings, it helps to build you some credit there too. And then a lot of us don't like to do this, and a lot of people don't like to do this for us, but if you have someone that is willing to do it, get a co-signer on a loan and pay back the loan as agreed. So making sure you're keeping up with your terms and responsibilities. All these things are hard, surefire ways to help you to build credit, and is the easiest way for you to be able to do that. Questions about some of these things? Okay, so it's credit report versus credit score. Lakeisha, you had a question?
No.
Okay, so it's the credit report versus this credit score. It's like, what's the difference? So the huge difference. So some of us know that there are 3 different credit bureaus. That's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So this is where all the different financial institutions will report to the credit bureaus, how have you been doing with your credit? Also, it shows all your credit history, every payment that you have, every card that you have, cards that you paid off, cards that you have, accounts that you've closed, accounts that were closed for you, anything that you've done with credit. It's also a way for you to help to verify your information and prevent identity theft. We're going to talk about later why it's important for you to check your credit report on an annual basis. And then you can request, like we said here at annualcreditreport.com, your credit report from all 3 bureaus. And it's key and important for you to be able to do that, because if you see something on your credit report that is not accurate or it's not you, you can dispute it. And then of course, the credit score is that raw number, ranges from 300 to 850, and it helps you to distinguish, and we'll talk about what the range looks like. So it's used by lenders, and if you want to get a house or apartment, if you want to, could you please guys mute your phones? Used for lenders, for apartments, companies, potential employers at risk, all those different things, kind of use the credit score to look at that. Then the next thing is use free resources to check your score. So we're going to talk about those in a little bit. So what makes up your score? So as you see, 35% of it is your payment history, and 30% of it is the amount that you owe. So if you always notice, if you've been checking your credit report on a regular basis, if you're like, why is my score didn't go down and I ain't do nothing? Did your amounts go up? Did your payment history change? Have you had it for a long period of time or a short period of time? The length of the credit. So how long is it that you have the credit? That's 15% of the decision making. Is it a new credit? That makes it 10% of the decision making. And the type of credit card used. that's also the type of credit used, that's 10%. So that helps you to figure out how they come up with your score. So it's all these different factors that come into play that comes up to help them to get your score. So you see the top two is payment history and how much you owe. And then the next thing is like, what does this mean? So as you see, from 760 to 849 is excellent. A lender is likely to offer you their best rate. 700 to 750 is a great score. You should have no trouble getting a loan at a good interest rate. When we start to go lower, 660, 699, you should have no trouble getting a loan at a good interest rate. Now, once we start getting past that's the low 600s, you becoming a fair. It's hit or miss if you're going to get a rate. You may qualify for a loan, but not get a good interest rate. So they may shoot your interest rate twice as much as what it should be. And then if the poorer it gets, as you see, the lower it gets, it becomes extremely difficult for you to be able to get a loan. But of course, your interest rates are way higher, sometimes 3 times higher than what other people may do. And of course, it's very poor. If you get the loan at all, if you're not denied, then of course you're paying like quadruple the interest rates. Any questions about the credit score and how to determine your credit score and what the different score means? So the next piece. So hopefully this is not the first time you all have started looking at your credit report, that people have gotten their credit report before and they have seen it. So we took somebody's fictitious credit report. So you see it has all your current name, what your current address is. It has your social on there, your birthday. Sometimes it has your phone number on there, who you are employed with. It has all of that up-to-date information stuff. And then it has all your public record. Do you have any liens? Do you have any bankruptcies? Do you have any foreclosures? It's all those different things. And then it starts to list. Typically it's in alphabetical order. Sometimes it's in the order in which how long you've had the card, all your creditors. So when you start looking at your creditors, it start looking at your credit history and so forth. It tells you who your creditors are, when the card was open, how many months the card has been in review, which means how long they've been able to look at it, when was the last activity on the card, what's the highest credit card, what's the highest amount that's on there, the terms to it, do you have balances, have you been past due, all those different factors, and then when was it last reported from that financial institution. So these things are key, and I want to kind of, and then at the bottom you see previous payment history. It talks about, how many times you were late and were you late over 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and all of that, looking at from when it's from your previous status. So I wanted to kind of break down the manner of payment of the different codes when you look at it. So of course, O means open, R means revolving, so you have payments that are variable. I means installments, so fix a number of payments that you have. And then it says status timelines of payments, so 0 approved, not used, 2 new to rate, 1 paid as agreed, 2 30, so then this is when you've been 30 past days due, 3 60 past days, 4 90 past days, 5 payments are 120 past days due, you're in collections, 6 making regular payments under wage earners plan or a similar arrangement, 7 repossessions, charges off, bad debt, all of that stuff is the different ways for you to help to read your credit report. So if anybody's kind of seen their credit report and always wondered what does all these different things mean, here's that information for you. Any questions on any of these things? Anything shocking, new for you all?
Yes, these numbers. It's good to know what the numbers mean now.
Yes, so like that's what I'm saying, and that's part of when we talk about the rights in a little bit. That's part of us teaching you all about this, but also knowing your rights, because of the fact that Lenders, sometimes some lenders are predatory lenders. Sometimes lenders will try to do things that are not ethical or legal. And if you don't know what these things mean, you just take them as face value because, oh, my financial institution that I bought my car from or have this credit card with, of course they wouldn't try to cheat me. Well,
right.
So this is why it's important for you to kind of know all these different things and what's the benefit of it. So that you have it, and when you get your credit report and look at it, like I said, on an annual basis, if you see something that's not accurate, not true, be like, oh no, so you can call and dispute.
So is there like a good time of the year to request a credit report, the free credit report?
You know what? It depends on you. I would suggest that you pull it at the same time every year. So that you got a 4-year cycle to make sure that but it's up to you. Some people do it at the beginning of the year. Some people will do it at the end. Some people do it at the end of the fiscal year. So it just really depends on how you want to do it. But I think it's key and important that making sure that you are doing it just to make sure that you're not being cheated. And so one of the things I want to talk to you guys about before we jump into rights is when you get ready to dispute, if you see your credit report and you notice that something is on there that is not right, it's not accurate, you didn't do it, the first thing you want to be able to do is on the credit report, you can either Google whoever credit bureau is, whether if it's Experian or if it's Equifax, but whoever one it is, you can email them, whoever's reporting it, and say to them directly, hi, you can email them and say, hi, I received this, or you can call and say, hi, I'm looking at my credit report, I pulled it on this date and noticed that this lender is saying this and that's not accurate. And what they will do is they will dispute it for you, contact the financial institution to see if it's accurate information. And within 30 days, sometimes it's 45 days, they'll get back to you and say, 9 times out of 10, they're going to send you a letter in the mail and say, hey, we checked with so-and-so, and they didn't respond, or we found out this was accurate, you might want to follow up with this financial institution. So if it comes back and they find that they didn't respond and it's not accurate, they will take it off your credit report. But you have to be the one to initiate it. If you don't initiate it, it will stay there.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. So getting to your rights. So most of us don't even know that there's a bunch of bills that was created all around credit. Crazy is that, right? Truth in Lending Act from 1968 ensures consumers are fully informed about the costs and conditions of borrowing. 1970s Fair Credit Reporting Act protects the privacy and accuracy of information in a credit check. Equal Credit Opportunity Act from 1974 presents discrimination in giving credit on the basis of any social identity, marriage status, age, receipt of public assistance. So these are the things that are key important. So you find that somebody discriminated against you or didn't give you something and you believe is due to any of your identities, you could basically have grounds to be able to sue them because they violated the Act of 1974. Also, the Fair Credit Billing Act from 1974 sets a procedure for quick corrections of mistakes that appear on your consumer's credit account. And the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act in 1977, abused by professional debt collectors, it applies to any employed to collect debts owed to others, do not apply to banks. It does not apply to banks or the business collecting their things. So just making sure that some people can't use this against you. So you just want to be aware of that. Some of the other ones is the Electronic Fund Transfer Act from 1978 allows consumers to challenge errors and have them corrected while paying limited penalties. So you can do that. The Fair Accurate Credit Transaction Act from 2003, an amendment to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, enable you to get one free copy of your credit report annually from each of the credit bureaus agencies. So when you are like, well, I don't want to have to pay for my credit report, well, every year, annually, you get to get one free. So that's from 2003, that act, and the Credit Card Accountability, Responsibility, and Disclosure Act from 2009, designed to protect consumers by increasing transparencies around credit terms, rates, and fees. So they can't just change the terms on you without sending you a letter. So those of us who get those things in the mail that says, oh, your credit, that your interest rates are going up or going down, and we're making these changes, that's the reason why they have to do that, because they have to disclose it before they put it into effect. And of course, there are a lot of state statutes of limitations, state-specific limitations on the amount of time a creditor can take collect on a debt that you may owe them. So it's key to know what those state statutes of limitations, because each state has a different one, but these are the things that help to protect you and your rights.
I have a quick question. Yes, just a quick question. So once you request your credit report from each, it's like three different companies, correct? And so after you've gone through the reports, is it best that you shred those reports, or are we supposed to keep them for like future?
Well, I keep mine. So like I have like personal documents that I keep and that I have locked away somewhere that can't nobody else get to, because you want to be able to look at it. You want to keep your credit report from the year before. So think about this. So if you you do one let's say from 2019 you had one, and now it's getting to the end of 2020, you want to get your new 2021. Well, you want to look and make sure that is there some discrepancies from the one from 2019. Somebody could have opened up a brand new account on yours. They could have changed payment histories. Somebody could have went back and said that you owe them money and you don't. Like, so I would keep them at least from the closest year to year, so that you have a record and that you can see what's going on.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Then the next thing. So have you ever had the question, it's like, how much can you afford? So has anybody heard of the 20/10 rule? Okay. So
no.
So this is key, and we're gonna do a little exercise about the 20/10 rule. So the 20/10 rule is never borrow more than 20% of your yearly net income. So if you earn $400 a month after taxes, then your net income in 1 year times 12 is $4,800. So you want to calculate 20% of your annual net income to find your safe debt load. You shouldn't do more than that. And so you should never have more than, so this person, they should never have more than $960 of debt outstanding. And the key for this rule is to help you to not go beyond your means and get to a place where you cannot pay the debt off. So that's why the 20/10 rule is key and important. So now you notice it says housing debt, mortgage payments should not be counted as part of the 20%, but other debts should be included. It's just like car loans, student loans, credit cards, because we all know that most people's mortgages, most people's balance of what they owe in mortgages is way more than what 20% of your income. So unless you a millionaire, then it's not. But the average citizen, it is. So that's one of the reasons why they're telling you not to do that. But everything else, you want to make sure and take into account that you're not going more than 20% of your income, so that you're able to pay stuff back. Okay. Also with this, monthly payment should succeed 10% of your monthly income. So before, the 20% rule shouldn't exceed more than what your yearly income is on a monthly basis, but then your monthly payment shouldn't be more than 10% of your net income. So if you bring home again $400 a month times 10, that's $40. So total monthly debt shouldn't be more than $40 a month. Again, this is all into account about the fact, making sure that you're eligible to pay it off. So, making sure that you're eligible to be able to pay it off. So if you're starting to get past that 20% and past that 10%, it may take you longer to pay that debt off, or you may get to the point where you can't pay the debt off at all. And that's how people get into bankruptcies, foreclosures, and all these other different things, because things have gotten away from them. So this is an easy, good rule for us to remember. And so, does anybody have any questions about this?
Yes. Can you email me that? That's something that I didn't know, and I honestly, because I just the reason why I know a lot of this already is because I just bought a home. I just got my house in 2 years ago, so a lot of this is still fresh in my head. But I never knew this is something that this is another one of those math things that doesn't come up that hadn't come up for me and for a lot of people until I got to college. And I think it's stupid. I think it's completely and utterly stupid that you wait till people get to college to try to teach them this. But this is something that I must have.
Okay, I will make sure that we can send it out to you. But we're gonna test everybody's knowledge. So our activity is we're gonna play with this, and we're doing a little scenario. So David has, so I want y'all to take out y'all pen and paper, get y'all phones so y'all can do y'all calculators, and then I'll take you back to what we need to do to make sure this is accurate. So David has a monthly income of $1,360. And he has a fixed monthly expenses of all these spelling errors, y'all, sorry. Fixed monthly expenses of a rent payment of, he got a rent payment of $450 a month. He's paying off a student loan, which is $116 per month. Okay, David wants to buy a new TV though, y'all, using his credit card. What is the largest monthly payment he can afford for his TV on his credit card, including his credit card payments, his student loans, to keep him at his safe 10% income rate? And I'm gonna go back to the other slide so y'all can cheat, so y'all can see how we do this. Let me know if somebody got it.
So is it $136?
So is he already over that?
So he's already paying, because he's paying rent $450.
I don't think so, because his rent and wait, does his student loan count? His rent
the student
doesn't
loan
count, but his student loan counts, so he's over it. Yeah.
He's already over it, right?
He's already over it.
Right. So he really shouldn't be buying no credit. He shouldn't be buying no credit card. Because he's finna be over, right? So you know, like it's gonna cause us to do a little bit of math. And of course, I learned something new tonight because I didn't know this either before I put this presentation together. So it's key and important for us to kind of learn some of these things so that, you know, it helps us not to be in debt, y'all. So I think it's key and important because, like, a lot of us didn't, like somebody jumped in and said, like, we didn't learn this in high school. They really should be teaching us this in high school. But it's my thing that I really wanted to make sure that as college students, I see so many college students in debt, so many college students that don't know what to do when it's time that it's not until you buy a house and then somebody got to walk you through the process to buy a house, and then you don't know if it's accurate. You don't you really got to trust other people or talk to somebody else who's been through the process. It's like, okay, this is what I need to do. And so, and like Glenn had talked about before, you also need to know your rights and what they looking at and what's important, because you never know if are they trying to give you a higher interest rate? Are they trying to do something that's not unethical? And then you won't learn out until later when somebody was like, why you pay that rate for? Your credit score is A1 credit. A1 credit, you should have got X, Y, and Z. So it's just important. That's one of my pet peeves and passions, to make sure that everybody knows how to look at their credit and understand it. And then how to make sure that you stay out of debt and stay financially healthy, especially during these times. You know, we need to make sure that we know as much things as possible. So we talked about next steps. Every year we need to be. Somebody got a question?
Yes, I did. I had a question. Okay, because I have the Credit Karma. So
Mhm.
if you have that, is it necessary that you pull the
I would,
annual
yeah,
credit report,
you
the
want to pull
three?
the annual, because if you look at Credit Karma, they only pull 2. They don't pull all 3.
You know what, you're right about that. I thought about that, and you just brought it back to mind. I was wondering why they didn't pull all 3. They
Yeah,
only do the 2.
they only do
And
2.
okay, and the other thing about it, the score that Credit Karma gives you, that's different from the FICO score. That's just
Yep.
your credit score. And
Is
I've
it,
still been trying to figure out what's the difference between those two.
what, you know what, from what I've been told is that the Credit Karma tends to be a little bit higher. And so let me just say this, when a financial institution, I learned this when I bought my house. So when a financial institution looks at your credit report, so they look at the 3 bureaus, and this is what they do. So whatever your highest score is and whatever your lowest score is, they just knock them out and don't look at it. They look at the score in the middle, because that is the most accurate score. So people get all excited when they be like, oh, I'm at so-and-so, so-and-so. And I was like, well, what's your middle score? Because that's what they're going to look at. They don't look at the lowest. They don't look at the highest. They look at what's in the middle. So that's why it's important for you to pull all 3 credit bureaus, because your middle score is what is going to be able to allow you to have that buying power, to allow you to buy a house, to get a car, to get to get a credit card, all those things. That is what they're looking at.
And that's what the FICO score is, the middle score.
That FICO score is.
Oh, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, no problem. And so, like I said, so every year, pull from all 3 credit bureaus. You can go to annualcreditreport.com. It's free. You can pull it. You can see everybody. You can see if you got any disputes. You can also check your credit score, like we said, on Credit Karma or CreditWise. But of course, Credit Karma only gives you the 2 and not all 3. And then, of course, for comparing credit cards. So if anybody's been out there and you get credit cards trying to get stuff to you and send stuff to you, and you're like, well, I don't know if this is the best credit card for me. Does it meet all my needs? Is this the best interest rate? Can I get something better? If you go to Bankrate or NerdWallet, either one of those, they will compare credit cards for you and tell you what's the better credit card for you. Okay, so questions. Anybody got questions?
I was wondering if you could come to the youth group that I usually host sometimes and teach this to them, because
I have no problem doing that. I can do that. Just email me, Glenn. I'll do it. No
okay.
problem.
Thank you.
So, Maribel, is this, do you feel like this is good advice you can give to your son now?
Oh my God, this is such great advice. You have no idea. But I also, part of it is like, I wish, I would have known this like years ago.
I know. And the same thing Lakeisha talked about too, because she talked about when she was trying to build credit, she couldn't figure out why they weren't giving none. And so like we said, that a lot of the times you don't learn this. I know in some of the suburban schools, they are starting to teach this. It's called as part of financial literacy. They're teaching a little bit of this because so many of them were getting high debt in college. And so they wanted to help them to think about how not to do that so they can be better financially sound. But of course, it's not everywhere. So like I said, for me, it was one of my pet peeves and passions. And I just felt like the more you know, the better it is for you. You can make better financial decisions when you know what decisions you can and you cannot make.
Oh, I 100% agree. But I think, yeah, it's very important to have, even through that, those scenarios that we talked about. I think if, a lot of times people just think, oh, I can just buy this, and not realizing like, no, there's only, you shouldn't go over a certain amount, because realistically, can you really, really afford it?
Right. And that's how we find ourselves in trouble sometimes. So.
Oh yes, we've definitely learned the hard way.
Yes, I mean, I think we all have, and it's hard to dig yourself out. So, but it's key. Like I say, once you know, you can't unlearn it. So, it's key. Knowledge is key. and knowledge is power. So it allows you to be more informed, to make better decisions, and to be more financially healthy. And we all want that.
Now, I have a question, and I know it's important to pull a credit report every year from like all three different bureaus.
Mhm.
But is it recommended to obtain, like, let's say right now I pull a credit report from all three credit bureaus, or is it advised to pull one from, let's say, Experian, and then a couple months later one from Equifax? Or is it better to pull, because I think we're allowed one free one from each credit bureau a year?
Mhm.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And it does not affect our credit score, right? So
Right.
is it better to pull them all three at the same time?
It's key to pull them all three at the same time, because what you'll start to notice on your credit report, some of your financial institutions only report to one or reports to. Some doesn't report to all three of them. So for instance, I know I have, is one of the cards that I have, I think it's Sears, it only reports to two. So it only shows up on two of the reports and not the third one. So if you don't pull it on a regular basis, you don't know what's going on with that account.
Got it. Now, are you able, like, if you pull another one after and like you pay for it, is that also a hit on your credit report or not?
Well, they tell you not to try to pull it too many times, you know, and you'll start to see, because like Credit Karma and all the ones, if you pull it multiple times within a year, it'll let you know that it was pulled. So, and it does take your credit report down, you know, credit score down maybe a notch or two. The key factor is also what you'll start to learn, and looking at the bottom, it'll tell you, are you high risk? Did you have too many pulls? All that type of stuff was starting to come into effect. Credit Karma is good for teaching you that. So if you do, I mean, Credit Karma, you can look at that 24/7 all day long, and it's not gonna hurt you, because that one's free, and it just gives you monthly updates on your credit report. So you can look at that one on a regular basis, but that one doesn't report all three. It only reports two of the three. But it also will tell you at the bottom how many times your credit report has been pulled, how has it affected you, all of that. It gives you all that great information.
Oh, thank you. That's super helpful.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Yes, are you gonna do anything, have us any presentations on how we get out of debt, since we've gone over this 2010 rule?
We might have to add one. One of the ones we are going to do, but I think it's on the emerging ones, is not for the advanced, is how to graduate with little to no debt. So,
okay.
There's some tricks of the trade, and we're going to go over some stuff that, you know, some people going to be like, dang it, if I knew this,
All right.
I could be saving a whole lot of money.
Right.
So yeah, we're going to go over a little bit, but
Okay.
But, you know, maybe we might add that one. Maybe we might add how to get you out.
Okay, sounds good. Well, what I did pick up, though, on the video is that it's best not to skip around on the credit card payments. Just go ahead and pay one off, and then you pay the next one off.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I can tell you for the credit cards, so like what financial planners and financial gurus will tell you is, okay, so let's say you got 3 credit cards. Let's say you got one that has 5,000, another one that gets like 2,000, and then you got one that has 1,000. Crazy. You would think, oh, I'm gonna tackle this $5,000 one first. No, that is not what you do. You start with the lowest one first. So you pay off the $1,000 one, then you take all the money that you was paying on the $1,000 one and then put it on the $2,000 one. And then when you finish paying the $2,000 one off, then all the money that you was paying on the 1,000 and the 2,000 you use to pay off the 5.
Oh.
Yeah, you start with the smallest first. You never start with the biggest, because it takes you longer to pay that off. The $1,000, the smallest one, it takes you less amount of time, because if you think about it, if you notice how they tell you not to pay just the minimum payments, because they'll tell you on your statement you'll be paying this for 3 years and you pay minimum payments, or 4 years, or however long it is that it tells you to do that. If you put even in $5 extra or $10 extra from what it's saying that you should pay on your your monthly payment on the smaller one, you will see that balance come down just like this. Immediately start coming down.
Okay. All right. So pay the smallest one off. Say, if it's $100, the minimum payment that you have to pay. Then if you pay, say, $150.
Yep. You'll see that balance will be at zero before you know it.
And then I'm going to add this $150 to the minimum payment of the $2,000 one.
Yep. Once you pay off the first one, so you paid off your $1,000 one, and whatever you were paying on your $1,000 one, you add whatever you were paying on the original $2,000 one plus what you were paying on the $1,000 one to combine it together, and then that's how you drop it down.
Okay. And then combine all of that to the $5,000 one.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah. And then what they said to do is, and then once you finish paying everything off, the money that you was paying in credit cards, put it in your savings account if you was not saving money.
Okay. Wow.
That's
Nice.
that's what I learned in junior college at Olive Harvey. It was Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps.
Yep.
And that you can look that up online. It's everywhere. And I learned that. I took that little bit of information, and I've been saving myself and a couple of family members from going down deep in the hole with what I would now call a measly $1,000. Because I had $100 in my savings account, and I was saving myself every time I turned around. I was like, dang, why didn't this come? Somebody teach me about this before now. What? Because when I was younger, all I heard was save a little bit every day, save a little bit every day. Well, you save it, and then the day come and you want to spend it, you spend it. But nobody said save it, and what I do is I save it and I pretend like it doesn't exist.
Right.
So when something comes along, and like something in the house needs fixing, I can just go over to that account, get it, and pay for it that way.
Yeah,
and that way it won't
they tell you to have it automatically taken out. So don't you put it in the savings account. Have your savings pulled automatically out into a separate account, and you're supposed to make it so difficult for you to get to it, so that when you get to it, you only really need it. You're in dire straits.
I have I think I have 2 accounts like that. I forget what they're called, but that's the way I keep myself from getting to it, because once I set it up and it comes out of my check automatically, when they start sending information about it in the mail, I don't even look at it. It's like I don't even know how to get to it. And it's going to take me a while to even like go in my closet and find the paperwork to learn how to get into it. So for me, that was the best thing ever, to learn those 7 baby steps and do that snowball effect that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I've saved myself a couple of times, and I love it.
Yep. It's key. It's small, like I said, it's small little things that you can do to help you to build credit, but also to help you to get out of debt and to be, like I said, more financially healthy. And then, sometimes you think it's this whopping thing that you need to do, but it's small little things over time. And before you know it, you can pay it off. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well,